I find as I'm getting older that I tend to be picking up books that I read a long time ago or was supposed to read and never did, and seeing whether I still like them. Thomas Hardy is one of the writers that I've actually kind of liked for a long time. I think what it is that I like about him is that the atmosphere that he creates. You know, he puts all his books in this little place in southeastern England. It's kind of a moody, gloomy sort of place. Uh, and the weather always plays some kind of a part in the books. And I kind of like him. So anyway, I picked up The Mayor of Casterbridge this week, and I think that may be one of his easiest to read books because it's not full of all kinds of local dialect and gibberish that you can't figure out what it is. The story is about a guy who gets drunk. He's an itinerant farm laborer. He gets drunk and he auctions off his wife and his little girl. Uh, I guess it seemed like a good idea at the time, but he quickly gets over it. He tries to find them on the day after, can't do it, and turns his life around. So 18 years later, the wife and the little girl come back, and now all kinds of complications set in as this guy tries to get things going. I'd say it's a pretty good book. The plot, when you get towards the end part of the book, is, I think, a little on the implausible side. In a way, it's sort of like Charles Dickens, the character who shows up in the very beginning comes back and whatnot. So, but anyway, it's a good book. You stay with it because you want to see how it comes out, what's going to happen with this guy. Now, I'm not going to say this is a book anybody has to read. I mean, you don't have to read anything at all, but it's worth considering. I'll tell you what is really worth considering is doing what I'm doing, namely going back and reading books that you liked once before and seeing if you still do. Now, with me, with Thomas Hardy, with this book in particular, I really kind of liked it. I think it's an enjoyable thing, and it's one of those books that's going to take you out of your current everyday environment and put you into another place. The first half of the 19th century, English countryside, not a lot of action, not a lot of killing. This is not like C.J. Box or Michael Connolly or any of these guys who we read now and you really can't put down because they got all, there's a lot of terrific action in the books. But nonetheless, it's still pretty good. So my suggestion is not necessarily that you read The Mayor of Casterbridge. Thomas Hardy may be an acquired taste, but my suggestion is that you go back and read books that one time you thought were pretty good. It could be that you're going to find out they're better than they were, or you like them better than they were. And the advantage to doing this is because you're not doing it for school. It's not essential that you finish the book if you don't like it. You're not going to have to end up and write some kind of a book report for school or, put in all kinds of made up English literature type stuff. You can just take these things for what they are, see if they're good stories. I thought The Mayor of Casterbridge was a good story. I certainly would recommend it. But on top of that, I absolutely recommend that you try going back to books that at one time or another you thought were pretty good. That's this week's suggestion. See you next week.